Let's talk to Zoe Noble about it before I come to your thoughts. Zoe's the founder of We Are Childfree, a community that celebrates and supports child-free lives. And Zoe, I say again, people who choose not to have children, if it's their choice, absolutely good on them. That's completely their entitlement. Why do you think so many more people are choosing not to have children? And is it really a choice, or is this about costs, do you think?
Thanks, Ben. For sure, there are more people who are choosing not to have children. But when we look at the population as a whole, it's actually more down to parents choosing to have fewer children. They are still in the majority, and they'll probably be in the majority for a long time. So my decision to not have children, while it affects things, it doesn't affect things as much as parents not feeling like they are able to get the support they need to have the number of children they want. But this is a really complicated discussion to have. You covered many, many different aspects, and lots of them affect people economically. Absolutely. If I feel unstable, if I feel like I don't have security, not enough money to pay my bills, why would I be able to bring a child into this world? Why would I want to bring a child into this world if I feel like if I can't support that child? And that decision is a responsible decision to make. It's a sad one if someone wants to have a child and they can't. And politicians, instead of screaming and shouting about this kind of crisis and catastrophe, we really need to hear more solutions from our political leaders. What are they actually going to do to fix the problems that average people are facing day to day in their lives that are causing these lower rates?
Because it is a crisis. It's a crisis for all of us, Zoe. But of course, you're absolutely spot on. It's also heartbreaking, and it's a crisis for the people who perhaps always dreamed of having children and getting to the age of 25, 30, 35, however old they are, and thinking that that dream is not going to become a reality because I simply don't have the money. It's devastating.
It is heartbreaking. It is devastating. But there are also lots of positive reasons why those rates are lowering. I see them as a sign of progression as well. Women finally have the choice. That is something that it's only recently that they've had the choice to decide whether they want to have children, and if they have them, how many they have and when they have them. And what we're seeing is more people are choosing to have children later in life. Perhaps they are focusing on their careers, maybe because they need to earn a lot of money to have children in today's economy. So when they start delaying parenthood, if they start to have children, which we see now more in their 30s, they can only maybe have one or maybe two children. So what we're looking at is a real cultural, societal shift that our governments are actually going to really consider and adapt. What can they do to adapt to that shifting culture?
And the people for whom it is genuinely a choice, Zoe, who could easily afford to have children but just simply don't want to, what sort of reasons do they give for not wanting them? And if you wouldn't mind your own sort of thinking and dilemma perhaps about whether or not you wanted them.
Our community is all over the world. We have 100,000 people on our platforms. And what I hear from people is that for many, like myself, there was never a choice to be made. I never had a deep desire to become a parent. I saw that role and I realized how much you need to want to be a parent. You need to want to raise not just a baby, but a human for the rest of your life. That is a huge undertaking. And I didn't want that role. And many in our community are exactly the same, or they are focusing on their well-being, their mental health. Maybe they live with chronic illness, and adding more complications or children into the mix when someone is already struggling is going to cause more problems perhaps. And they're really not just considering themselves, they're considering the life of a possible child, which is actually very commendable.
And very responsible indeed. I just wonder, Zoe, if you think there's, you talked about the progress that's been made in women who, and it is women in particular, I think, who face the stigma, but women who say, look, I don't want children. The stigma around that is gradually being sort of lifted and removed. Is there a risk, do you think, as we talk about the birth rate crisis, that actually that starts to go the other way? And that women who are choosing not to have kids start to be sort of given a slightly weird look again?
Oh, absolutely. I think there is a backlash that we're seeing as we have platforms that we can talk about these things, that we can actually tell people that there is a choice. There are other forces at play that do not want women especially to have that autonomy, because when we have our autonomy, we may have smaller families, we may have no children, and that is going to impact some people who see us maybe as breeding mares. We're here, to populate the planet, apparently, and they see it as a woman's duty. And when we say, actually, no, we are going to decide our own destiny, that's going to cause a problem for them.
And it's a fine line between saying, look, collectively we need to help people have more children, and not demonising or sort of persecuting those who absolutely rightly decide that they don't want them. Just lastly, I wonder if sort of fertility plays a part here. We're not a very healthy population in this country. People are having to wait longer because of money pressures. That comes with sort of decreasing fertility and so on. Is that a big part of this as well, that even if people do want children, more and more are finding that it's very difficult to have them?
It's certainly an aspect. We have people in our community who they're child-free through circumstances. So perhaps they envisaged children in their lives, but for whatever, they couldn't find a partner who would live up to the person that they needed. And that's the other side of this coin, is we need to also talk to more men, make sure that they are providing the support and help for their partners to ensure that we aren't just putting this burden and pressure on women.
Yes.
Men need to step up as well. They are part of this picture as well.
They are, and yet there are also men who say, I always wanted kids, but I didn't find the right woman, in the same way as that there are women who say exactly the same about men. Thank you, Zoe. Really interesting conversation. Zoe Noble, founder of We Are Childfree, a community that celebrates and supports child-free lives, which we should absolutely do. If someone says, look, I don't want kids, that is absolutely something that should be accepted, celebrated. That's their choice.